So, are you tired of losing money on those big televised football matches? You are definitely not alone. And the problem might just be the games themselves. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on a really powerful strategy called the Ghost League hack. It's a method for finding profitable bets by looking where most people don't even think to. This quote right here gets to the absolute heart of the problem. When millions of people are all betting on the same game, the bookmakers pour all their resources into setting near-perfect odds. It's kind of like trying to play chess against a supercomputer. You're playing on their turf, where their advantage is at its peak.
Okay, so let's kick things off by digging in to what I call the big league trap. We're going to explore this paradox of why the teams you know and love the most are often the absolute worst ones to bet on.
It sounds a little strange, doesn't it? I mean, we all love the drama of the Premier League or La Liga, but for a serious bettor, these are the leagues where the most money is being thrown around. And because of that, they're where the bookmakers have invested a ton of resources to get their odds absolutely perfect. And this just nails the fundamental mismatch. On one side, you've got the average person, right? They're betting with their heart, totally influenced by TV hype and love for a team. But on the other side, you have the bookmaker, this cold, calculating machine running on pure data. It's emotion versus an algorithm, and, well, the algorithm almost always wins. So the whole thing really boils down to this one psychological pitfall: reputation bias. It's that little voice in your head that says, oh, come on, it's PSG, they have to win, even if the data is screaming something else entirely. This is exactly the kind of emotional betting that bookies just love to profit from. Okay, so if the big leagues are basically a trap, where do you find the edge? This brings us to the core of the whole strategy: uncovering the ghost leagues. This is where the real opportunities are, hiding in plain sight. And that right there is the key mindset shift. Winning isn't about blind luck. It's about finding markets that the bookies just aren't paying as much attention to, places where their odds might have some flaws that you can actually exploit. So, what exactly is a ghost league? Well, think about leagues like the Portuguese Primeira Liga, the Turkish Super League, or maybe even the Scottish Premiership. These are all highly competitive, totally professional leagues that just don't get the same global media attention. And that lack of hype is precisely what creates an opening for a smart analyst. And check this out. This chart just lays it all out. The hype in the Premier League is massive, which means the odds are incredibly sharp. But in these ghost leagues, the lower hype means you can find really predictable patterns. For instance, in Turkey, the top teams score so regularly that the over 1.5 goals market can be a surprisingly reliable bet with pretty decent odds. Okay, the theory makes sense. But how do you actually do it? Let's break this down into a simple, three-step method that anyone can use to find some real value. So this is your new process. First, you get a tool, something like SofaScore, that gives you raw, unbiased data. Second, and this is key, you have to train yourself to ignore the famous team crests and just focus purely on the numbers, especially those goal ratios. And finally, you use that data to spot the mismatches, like a really strong home team playing a team that's just awful on the road. And you can think of this table as your little cheat sheet for what to look for. If you're looking for an over 1.5 goals bet, you're searching for matchups where both teams have kind of leaky defenses, but they can still score. For a straight win bet, you're just hunting for that clear home field advantage that's backed up by strong recent form. It's all about finding these high probability scenarios. Now, finding a good bet is one thing, but how do you turn that into some meaningful profit? Well, that's where we get to the payoff, the rollover strategy. This is all about building your bankroll methodically. The goal here is to just stop chasing that one lottery ticket win. You know the ones, those huge accumulators. They're basically designed to fail. The smart approach is to focus on disciplined, consistent wins and just let the power of compounding do all the heavy lifting for you. Let's just walk through a real-world example. You don't need a huge bankroll to start this. Imagine you just set aside $10 for the weekend. The key isn't the amount, it's the strategy. Here's how the rollover builds that momentum. You place your initial $10 on a carefully selected bet. If it wins, you don't pocket the profit. You reinvest the entire amount into your next bet. As you can see, after just 3 successful rounds, that small stake can really start to multiply. It's not about one big win. It's about patient, strategic growth. And this brings us to what might be the most important part of this entire strategy. It's not really about the leagues or even the numbers. It's about a fundamental shift in how you think about betting. And this is the single most important takeaway from all of this. Your heart is for cheering, but your head, that's for analyzing. To be successful, you have to be able to separate the two. You have to approach every single bet with the cold, hard logic of an analyst. All right, so let's wrap this up. Here's your new playbook, simple as that. First, tune out all that media hype. Second, make raw data your new best friend. And third, practice discipline to grow your bankrolls slowly and steadily instead of chasing those impossible wins. So I'll leave you with this one final thought. The next time you're about to place a bet, just pause for a second and ask yourself, am I betting like a fan or am I thinking like an analyst? Because believe me, the answer to that question will determine your results.